Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on your Swift Sundance. It's a special edition, and so we've got under the bonnet here your engine battery over here on the left hand side, sort of a few bits and pieces up there, sort of fuses, relays, all that sort of stuff, but you don't need to worry about any of that. That's all just for kind of split charging and that kind of thing. Your brake fluid attached to the cylinder there and the servo at the back. Engine oil gets topped up through this top cap, and your engine oil dipstick is this yellow topped or orange topped one just here. Power steering fluid gets topped up through there, and you can see they're a really nice deep red colour, which it should be. 3.2 tonne, and it's actually been uprated by Swift Group. You can see there 3.4, so that's the one there that you want to go off. This is the original Fiat one, but this is the one that you actually go off here. So that's that. Your engine coolant reservoir, this one just here, you can see it's just there at the maximum line, and so that's when you need to be checking it right now, like it's cold. So you need to check that about now, and you can see there it's at the complete perfect level. Your washer fluid reservoir, this one here on the right hand side, you can see it's all been topped up to the correct levels, as you'd expect. The air filter sits inside here and obviously gets drawn in through the front just there. Diesel filling point is this one just here, and you actually get into that by pushing on this left hand side here, and then that then releases this little cap. So you don't worry about all this sort of stuff, this all needs to be cleaned yet. Not really anything to show you on the passenger side apart from the electric window, which, to be honest, when this van was built would have been quite a nice high spec thing to have. They've nearly all got the winding windows on both sides. Boiler vent is this one just here, so if you had your boiler lit up on gas, you'd be able to feel it coming out through the tops of this vent here, either side. Gas locker is this one just in here, and so you've got two of these flow gas, they're butane bottles. To turn the actual gas on, you just need to pull this little lever up right here where it is now, and to switch it off you just push it down to the other side, down to the right. So that's your regulator. There's a bottle top regulator, and obviously this vehicle itself is at the age where it can have the bottle top regulator instead of the sort of side mounted one. Wastewater drain is this one just down here underneath the door. Bike rack at the back of the vehicle. Toilet cassette locker is this one here on the off side. So your toilet flush is this top little one here. You can see the level on the right hand side just there, it's absolutely perfect. Really, that should have some of the pink fluid in it though, really. It should be sort of a bit more of a pinky colour, so when you come to topping this up, make sure that you do a pre-mix of the pink fluid as well as just water, but that's okay. And your toilet cassette itself. So all you need to know really about this is that you actually drain it out from here, and you hold the little yellow button down when you're actually emptying it out. Other than that, push it all the way home like that, and then you're good to go. Just make sure there's nothing underneath that I've missed out. Hookup point, you can see there I've got this one in at the moment, so that's where you put your hookup cable in, and then when you put that in, you'll basically just have access to all of your 240 volt sockets, the charger will work, all that kind of stuff. I'll go into more detail about that when we get inside. And last thing is your freshwater inlet. So if you want to fill your freshwater tank up, which you will need to do, that's where you need to do it from. Inside the cab itself, just pull the seat back a little bit. Really nice high spec in here. So like I said, the electric windows just on their own are a really nice high spec thing to have on these sort of like this sort of age of vehicle. 51 plate, it's quite unusual to have that. Not only that, but it's got the electric adjusting mirrors as well, which again is something you don't tend to get on the much higher spec vehicles, such as this one. Lights on and off just here, so you've got side lights and then main beam at the top, and where they are at the moment, that is in the off position. You've got your flash here and your indicators here at the front. Washers and wipers are on the right. You've got a 5-speed manual gearbox where reverse is down to the bottom right, and a single DIN Kenwood head unit, and I don't know exactly what that's got on it because I don't really, I wouldn't have tried that, but you can see it's got CD and it'll obviously have a radio and things like that. Hazard warning lights works just from there, and all of your sort of temperature settings for the fan and the heater are all just there. 29,000 miles from new, so obviously not really done many miles whatsoever, especially for a nice reliable diesel engine like this. So you've got, can't even say how many more miles really, but there you go. Right, the bonnet release is down here underneath, so pull that to release the bonnet, and that's it. So I think that's about it for sort of the outsidey bits and the cab. So if we jump in now to the back end of the vehicle, I will start just here. Shut the door for a minute. So your control panel is this one just here, so don't worry about anything else, just this black part in the middle. So it's a plug-in systems control panel, so that's pretty much who did most of the them and CBE, Sargent, all that sort of lot, the main sort of contributors to all of the older kind of vans. Not that this is very old really, but anyway, so you've got on the left hand side you've got a battery condition level sensor, and on the right you've got a water level sensor. So corresponding to where they are, if you on the left hand side here, if you want to turn all your power off to everything, just go into the middle like that. If you go up, the power will be being drawn from your engine battery, which you do not want to do, but it will show you your engine battery voltage. If you go down to the bottom, everything is then being drawn from your leisure battery, but it also shows you your leisure battery voltage. So down is where you want it if you want to use the van, and then you can check the voltage meter up there. The reason it's so high is because I've got the hookup plugged in and the charger is on, and it's keeping the battery at sort of like a peak sort of voltage. So that voltage there, just so that you can sort of gauge it where it is now, that would be about 14 volts. In the middle here you can see the lights on. I can switch that off now because I'm not actually using it. That's your water pump switch. So when that light is on there, you'll be able to use your water pump. It basically means that there's power at the pump. And then on the right hand side you've got your fresh water level. So if I push and hold on this, if there was any water in the tank, it would then go up and show you how much, and wastewater level. So that's how you check that. Water level on the right, battery level on the left. If you want to use the van for anything at all, go down on this one here and then go from there. So you've then got underneath that, you've got a 240 volt socket, which will work at the moment because I've got a hookup plugged into the actual van itself. 12 volt socket here and your aerial point. You have also got a couple of sockets just above there which have been retrofitted at some point in the past. So if you did need any extra sockets, they are there. So the other thing I'll point out is that I've got the pump switch on at the moment, and because this pump works on pressure, the fact that the pump isn't actually running right now, but I do have the switch on, means that there's no leaks, there's no sort of nastiness about the water system. If I had that switch on and the pump was just constantly running, it would then mean that there's no pressure, which obviously then means sort of leaks and things like that. So that's all good. I'll leave that on for the minute. Like I showed you a minute ago, there's not really any water in the tank, so I'm not going to draw any through, but I will tell you or show you what you need to do. So if you want to start using the van, you want to heat the water up, you want to do all that sort of normal stuff, you need to turn your pump on, assuming you've got some water in the tank obviously, and then basically just pull the tap to the hot side where it is now, and then wait for it to come through nice and clear, and then go over to the cold, wait for that to come through nice and clear as well, and then switch it off. If when you turn the tap off there and the water stops, the pump will carry on for a few seconds and then it should turn itself off like it has done now. If it doesn't turn itself off, first off, just turn the power off and that will stop the pump running. But you can then look at other things. If it doesn't stop, you've either not got enough water in the tank, or there's a leak somewhere and you need to sort of let us know and see if there's a problem. All right. 9 times out of 10, it's not a problem. It's just that you need to make sure that you don't leave the pump just going and going and going. Otherwise, it will just burn itself out and stop working, and it will need replacing. So that's that. You've got a 3-burner hob up here and grill just underneath here. So you've got a little grill pan in there. Top left, bottom right, and then the grill is this one just here. You will need an igniter or a sort of like a lighter or something like that to light any 3 of these up and the grill, because there's no ignition on any of those. The oven is exactly the same underneath, works from the same style of dial, but you will need an igniter or a clicker of some description to light that up. The flame just sits right down there at the back where you can see that. Down here, so you've got a couple of gas isolators, so the color code matching this little sticker here. So yellow oven, green is the hob, and blue is the fridge. So if you wanted to isolate any of the appliances from their gas for whatever reason, you can just turn them so they look vertical rather than horizontal. There's no real reason to do that apart from if you think there's something leaking or there's something wrong with one of the gas appliances. You do not need to do that every time you get out of the van, or for any other reason really. If you're going to get out of the van and you want to start, if you want to leave it for a little while, just switch the gas bottles off. That's plenty. This cupboard just here, just make sure there's nothing to show you in there. Not really, just sort of bits and pieces for the sink. Right, so you've got the fridge now, so it's got a 3-way fridge. So obviously that means it works in 3 different ways, but I'll just run you through them. So on the left hand side here, you've got a red switch, which if you look down there, there's 2 little corresponding symbols. Now the red switch will work only when the engine's running and when you're driving, basically. So when you start the engine up and turn that on, it's a little 12-volt element in the back of the fridge, which will keep the fridge at temperature. The 240-volt one here, the green one, will work only when your hookup's plugged in, which is why it's working at the moment. And over here, the gas, a little bit more sort of explaining to do here, but the gas, it's on at the moment because I've got the flame symbol facing this little triangle. And the way that I did that, if I just switch it off now, I'll turn it off. So at the moment now the gas is off. The way that I checked that, or the way that I lit it up, sorry, is look down that little hole down there, and I'll show you what happens down there, but I'll just show you what I'm doing first. So you haven't got to worry about this dial at all, really. So you turn this one round to the gas like that. You've got a little piezo igniter over here. All you need to do now is push this in and press the button. So you saw what happened? So you got a little blue flame in there now. So I'm still holding on to this one. All I did was press the black button there. So now the reason that lit up so easily, I'll just let go of the button now as well, it's still lit. The reason that lit up so easily in first time was because I've only just turned it off and it was all hot. All right, so that won't happen. It won't light up on the first click. It will never ever do that unless you've literally turned it off for 5 seconds and turn it back on. So what will happen is, when you go to light it up, you will have to press that igniter button probably, I don't know, 20 times maybe. When you turn the gas on, push the button in and press on the piezo igniter just as many times as it takes to light that up until you get the nice little blue flame in there like you can see there now. So the gas will get the fridge cold on its own, and the 240-volt, the green switch, will get the fridge cold on its own as well. You can use them both at the same time like I'm doing at the moment to get it cold nice and quickly if you want to. You don't have to do that, it's up to you. So what you have to do, I'll turn it all off now. What you have to do to use these fridges properly, and I'll just show you this as well. So you've got a little button here, push that down and it locks in like that. So you've got 2 little holes here, so you can go on the first hole if you want to leave a little bit of a gap so that it sort of airs it out, or you can close it all the way over and lock it. That's completely up to you. Anyway, so yeah, the way you have to use these fridges is you either get it cold first, for example, the night before you go away, light it up on gas and leave it overnight to get cold of all of your stuff inside it, so that by the morning it'll all be nice and cold and ready to use on the 12-volt. Or same way again, put everything inside the fridge and turn it on the mains and leave it on mains overnight. By the time you get there in the morning, it'll all be cold inside And then all you have to do is switch over to 12 volt just for when you're driving, and then switch back to one of the other two when you get there. The reason for that is, just briefly, the reason for that is if you put a lot of warm stuff in this fridge, or stuff that you haven't pre-cooled in there, and then just use a 12 volt for when you drive, if you don't have it all pre-cooled inside, the 12 volt, you know, nothing would have changed in the fridge by the time when you get to where you're going. You have to have everything pre-cooled before you go, before you can use the 240 volt element, the 12 volt element, sorry. All right, so that's that. Yeah, the reason for that is because the 12 volt element in the back of the fridge, the red button one, isn't powerful enough to get the fridge cold on its own. You need to have it cold first before switching over. Right, the next bit is your gas heater. So it's gas only, there's no electric way of using this. But again, similar way to the fridge, all you have to do is turn this dial around to sort of 2 or 3, push it down, and whilst you're pushing that button down, push on this. It sounds a bit noisy, but you know, that is just how they are. Push down on this at the same time as pushing on this piezo igniter, and then watch down there. I have to light it up. Let me just light it up with 2 hands and I'll show you. Put you down there for a second. Oh, I wasn't looking in the right place, that's my fault. But so I've lit it up and you can see, where is it? There you go, little flame in there. And so now all I'm going to do is I've turned it around to sort of 7 or 8, and then I'm going to let go of it. The main flame kicks in. So exactly what happened there, that's exactly what I wanted to show you. So see, it went out, push back down on the button again, and let go again. You might need to do that 5 or 6 times before it actually stays on. So now look, it's going to stay on. So that was just lucky, really. So now it's on. All right, once you've done that, you're good to go. You can leave it. Don't hang anything off over the front of this, so no socks or anything like that, because you will burn them. These get far hotter than a radiator does at home, because it's not fed by water or anything like that. It's not heated water, it's literally a gas flame behind there, inside a casing. So do not hang anything over the front of this, and in fact please try not to actually even touch these fins once it's heated up, because you know they do get seriously hot. So just bear that in mind. So that's on now, and then all you have to do to turn it off is back around to the left, all the way around to the little 0, and it's off. Above that, all of your paperwork and a few extra bits and pieces are in this cupboard here. The paperwork's in the brown bag. You've got your 240 volt trip switches inside there. So if anything dodgy was to be plugged into any of the sockets, that's where it should trip from. The bathroom is really nice and simple. So you've got a classic style unit here. So this part here lifts out and then hooks on up there to make your shower, and then pushes back in to keep it as a sink. Hot and cold taps are just here on the left hand side. You have got a light up there as well, which I've got on at the moment. Toilet, really nice and simple. Push down on here. Well, actually no, different style. There's 2 different types, so I always get them mixed up. So to actually get the flush fluid pumping around, twist on this. See the fluid pumping around there now. So you basically just need to turn on that to get that to come round, and then turn on this to open it into the cassette. So that's open, that's closed. So that's how you use the toilet. You need to make sure that you close that flap back over, because if you don't, you won't be able to take the cassette out from outside. It will lock itself in place. When that flap there is open, it's completely locked, so you won't be able to move it. So try your best to remember to close that back over when you're finished. Other than that, you've got lights under here, which obviously all work via the 12 volt battery. Another one up here, which takes a few seconds to actually switch itself on, I noticed. Like that. I'm not sure exactly why that is. It must just be the type of bulb that it is. But the last bit I want to show you, really, the last really important part, is this bit down here, which is your Truma Ultra Store. So that's your boiler, and basically the way it works is you set your temperature, so either between 30 and 70. So at the moment we'll just leave it at 50, and then just turn it on like this. Green light will come on, it will light up, as long as there's any gas there. So that's one thing I wanted to show you as well. So you've got a little red light there next to the gas with a cross through it. So basically that means that the flame hasn't lit. So all you do, turn it off, wait a few seconds, turn it back on. So turn the gas on for the first time in a little while. So that's just lit straight up, I just heard it. So that's how you use that. If that little flame fail light comes on, it's not anything to worry about at all. These ones do just take a few times to light them up. The reason that didn't light up the first go is because I only turned the gas on just before this video. So it was just drawing that gas through from the bottle. And it didn't quite have time the first go around, so that's why that is. So wait sort of half an hour or so to get your temperature up on the boiler's water, and then use it at any of your sink or shower, whatever you like. Switch it off whenever you're finished. And the other thing I want to show you is you've got this little lever down here. So you see the little yellow lever? All that is like a drop out for the boiler. So if I lifted that upright, it would just drain all 10 litres of the water out from the boiler straight onto the floor. And then, after sort of like 5-6 minutes or so, your boiler will be empty. So if you want to drain the boiler out, the reason you would do that is if it was going to get to sort of freezing temperatures and you weren't going to use the van, you need to drain that boiler out before it freezes inside. If the water freezes inside the boiler, or in the pipes near the boiler, it will expand and usually sort of crack the pipes and crack the fittings. So it's really important that you drain that boiler out if you're not going to use it when it's going to get cold. Otherwise it's all pretty straightforward stuff. There's nothing too sort of technical about anything. Just checking if there's anything else. I don't think there is. So yeah, a really nice van actually. It's been really well kept. All the upholstery looks really nice. The only other bits I'd say, I've got this skylight open at the moment, so I'll just show you that. Just grab this and pull it back down towards you. Close these back over. And then push the bar back up. And that's it. Obviously you've got your blinds and all the windows are all exactly the same. But that sort of thing is easy. You'll get to grips with all of that stuff really, really quickly. I don't need to show you that kind of thing. But yeah, the main bits really, make sure all of your windows are shut and completely locked away. Skylights down in the lock position. Make sure that you turn your gas off before you start driving anywhere for any reason. That's really important. And make sure that you switch your fridge over to 12 volt when your engine's running and when you're driving, because obviously you can't have a cable plugged into the van and you can't have the gas lit up. So you do have to switch over to 12 volt. If you're getting out of the van, pump switch off, this button here, back to the middle. And that's it really. Just make sure everything's sort of tidied away and not going to fall out. Things like this, for example, obviously it's because we've had it sat here on the site rather than driving. You want to make sure that's away somewhere so it can't fall down on somebody, because I have had ladders falling down on me before when I'm driving it, and it's not fun. So just make sure that you keep your eye on stuff like that. But otherwise, yeah, I don't see you having any problems at all with anything like that. The gearbox has been sorted. It drives completely fine now. Yeah, engine sounds nice and sort of quiet and nice and smooth like they all do. And yeah, so I'm sure you're gonna have lots of fun in it. And yeah, so if you do get any problems, or you think there's anything I've missed out or anything you want covering again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.